So much for staying with today. Now, Public Works has embarked on a massive crackdown on hijacked buildings following the devastating fire in Johannesburg last week. And some occupants of the Marshalltown building are still refusing to go to shelters, saying their belongings are still in the building and they'd like to retrieve it. Others also fear deportation. Our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones is in studio to give us an update on that story. Good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Of course, it's again the dilemma of government trying to provide shelter. In the meantime, the residents wanting to have their belongings, Pule.
Yeah, definitely. I think firstly we should start with the latest developments around the story in which the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says that there will be a commission of inquiry looking into the issue of hijacked buildings and of course a fire that was blazed in Marshalltown as well. The commission will be chaired by Justice Sisi Kampepe, assisted by Advocate Tulani Makubele and of course Ms. Vuyelwa Matilda Mabena as well. Seems as though it will be an intense inquiry trying to find out as to what is the root cause to some of these buildings being hijacked, the syndicates, and where the city is going in terms of what they're currently seeing with this situation, but also into the root cause of the fire in Marshalltown. But essentially what's happening is that there's been meetings going on in the background. I can tell you of a mayoral committee that sat yesterday as well to look into this issue. The Johannesburg Council tomorrow will be convened, and amongst other issues, the issue around public safety and buildings being decayed as well will be looked into. The Speaker, Kolima Kubelo, will be looking at tabling this item as well. From there onwards, we also know that the scene is now under investigation. SAPS is busy with that scene, but there's an issue. Residents are actually frustrated, and there's a level of growing impatience as well in which they want to get their belongings. If you look at the building, it seems as though level 2, 3 were the ones which were mostly affected, but residents who are on level 4 are saying that some of their belongings were not burnt, and therefore they have key essential items and belongings in there, such as personal documentation, furniture, money, amongst others, and they're pleading with authorities to help them get their way in there and of course get their belongings. I spoke to one fella earlier on. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm sent by the ward councillor, Councillor Mnyameni, to come and assess the situation and try to assist the people which are here to collect their belongings. But so far now, I'm trying to communicate with Johannesburg Central, Colonel Mabusela, to find out how far with their arrangement, so that I can take a feedback to those people.
So will the police be assisting in terms of having people come here and collect their items?
So far now, I can say yes. I have to. I am relying from the SAPS, understand, to tell us about the way forward. Yes, because they are the one that they are doing arrangement and keeping safe of this area.
And Pule, having spoken to residents, and I think from last Thursday as well, with the circumstances under which the fire started, was during a time when there wasn't any electricity, so there was load shedding, which then led to residents having to find alternative means to either light up, etc. What else do we know about the circumstances around the fire?
Yeah, I mean, when we heard the press briefing by the city manager, Floyd Brink, last week with the mayor, he highlighted in the statement that there were over 200 people who were residing in this building. When you speak to some of the residents who were residing, they'll tell you some of the rooms or units would house about 9 people to 10 people. So it was congested as well as a result of people not being able to afford for accommodation in Johannesburg. There's about 6 million people in Johannesburg. And one issue which has seemingly come out again in terms of what is challenging the city is the issue of accommodation and housing as well. And some of the residents who were living here saying they were living there because it was cheap and they needed a roof under them. But what we now understand is that there are really a lot of rumors that are going around in terms of what could have caused or led to this building being gutted by the fire. One of which we are told is as a result of the illegal connection as well. And that at times before that incident, when there was load shedding, you'd find that the people residing there would illegally connect cables to ensure that there is electricity. And usually what this happens is that it has a strain on substations as well. And when you look at the bigger picture, the city is affected widely why these buildings being hijacked, because at the core of this, they're not collecting any revenue and they're losing a lot, which is affecting their finances as well. But let's take a listen to what this resident who was residing at this particular building had to say when we spoke to him earlier on.
Lot, almost 200 people here. Most of them, those from Malawi, was building them cuckoos here down. So I don't know why, because when you enter, there's some steps. There's a substation down. So that electricity sometimes, there's no electricity, when load shedding coming, they're taking buying cables, they are connecting, you see, electricity. If you didn't put those cables, there's no electricity. So I thought maybe one of them was trying to do this because everything was changing. Everything was changing. Put another cable, opening, put another cable. That substation is strong. Maybe that's why it was banned. I don't think it's a cancel. I don't think so. This one, I don't think.
And of course, thank you to Pule Letshwiti-Jones for the update there with regards to the residents and their accommodation and what the city is doing now, also wanting to institute a commission of inquiry to get down to the details of what had caused the city, or rather the fire in Marshalltown, and how to prevent anything similar from happening. So we